Namaskaram. Welcome to day 83 of the Safe Soil Journey. So, in the last few days, we were looking at different kinds of programs offered at Isha. We started with the Hatha Yoga programs like Surya Kriya, Surya Shakti, Angamaradana, Yogasanas, Bhastrika, Jalaneti, Shanmukhi Mudra, eye care practices. Then we also covered about the programs offered at the Isha Yoga Center like Bhavya Spandana and the Shoonya Shakti Chalana Kriya program, Guru Pooja, Samyama, and the foundation program, the inner engineering Shambhavi Maha Mudra program. So I thought that maybe you would be wondering, after going through so many programs, you may be wondering that which one should I do, and is it necessary for me to do all the programs, or which program should I choose, in which order should I choose, and what does it involve. So I just thought that in this particular video I could cover about the same, because this is a common question which we receive from many people, that we are a little confused because there are so many programs and we don't know where to start and how to proceed. So I'll try to see if we can shed some light on this in this particular video. So first of all, I remember Sadhguru mentioning this in a particular program, that it's something, that it's not that one has to do X number of programs and only then they can move forward in their journey. It is about how intensely you are approaching something and how open you are, how open and willing you are. So he was mentioning this, that if a person is willing and open enough, then not even inner engineering program, just the inner engineering introductory program, where earlier there used to be an introductory program before the inner engineering program, which used to be for about 2 hours, where it was like a free session where people attended, and then they decided whether they wanted to go ahead and enroll in the inner engineering program or not. So I was mentioning, even if someone is open enough in the introductory session, that itself can enlighten them, leave alone the inner engineering program or whatever else. So this is how it is. It's not about the number of programs which you are doing, or it's not like a qualification which you carry saying I have completed so many programs and I am more advanced, spiritually advanced than someone else. It's not like that. It's just that for most people, they do not open up all at once. They just open up in installments. So it's like you attended one program, the engineering program, and something within you broke and you moved a little ahead, but still you were holding back so many things. And then you attended Bhavya Spandana program, and then suddenly you felt that so many more things which which you were just kind of holding yourself back. It kind of became loose, and you felt that so many limitations you became free from. And then again you picked up a few limitations after that. It's like you go through a program and you open up a little bit, but then again you pick up so many other things, and then you go for another program, and then again it opens up you a little bit, but then by the next program maybe you pick up something more. So like that, because most of us are like this, that we don't give ourselves completely, and we only open up in installments. That is the reason why there are so many programs being offered, and people need so many reminders and so many different methods or tools just for them to open up. You will see that when they just do the basic program, the inner engineering program, a little bit of openness comes. By the time they finish all the other programs, the Bhavya Spandana program, the Shoonya or Shakti Chalana Kriya program, the Yogasanas program, and then the Samyama program, then suddenly they become so much more willing and open to what is being offered, and they become a little more accepting and also willing to stretch themselves to do whatever is needed for their growth. So this willingness or this openness comes in installments for most people. So that is the reason why so many steps are needed. Otherwise, you will feel comfortable after some period of time, and then you'll think you don't need anything else, but then afterwards you'll become stagnant, you may not grow. So this is the case with most people. A lot of people, they just do one program and then they stop and they feel, I think this is something which is enough for me. And they kind of they just don't move ahead in terms of more programs. So that's completely fine, but what happens with many of them is that if even if they are not doing any other program, as long as they are approaching the way they are living their life, it's something which they are continuously breaking their limitations, continuously seeing everything fresh, then that's fine. But for most people, they'll get into a comfort zone, and they would be still holding back. And something like a program is like a fast forward way to kind of take them to the next level, because it accelerates something what you wouldn't have done by your own. So that is where so many programs are useful, because for most people they need this push, they need these tools, they need these programs to kind of slowly, and maybe in stages, to open up. So you have to just see what works for you. It's not about just because someone else did, that's why I also went ahead and did the program, or this is what is really required. What Sadhguru is mentioning is that if you're just looking for health and well-being, then just inner engineering and Bhavya Spandana are more than enough. These two programs, if you just finish the Shambhavi Maha Mudra program, if you're initiated into it, and Bhavya Spandana program, which is an experiential program where you can see the possibility of something which is beyond the body and mind. If just these two things, if you do, it's more than enough for your health and well-being. Only if the longing comes to go beyond your well-being as well, then something like more advanced like Samyama, the other programs, especially the Samyama program, could be useful. So with just if you just do these two programs itself is enough in terms of your health and well-being, if that is what you're looking for. So you should just see it's not about doing more number of programs. You should just see that at what stage are you right now. Are you someone who is who needs constant reminders or push, or you are someone where you're going it's just like you're going up and down all the time. Certain period of time you feel that you're focused, and you are just working towards your growth, and then after some time you feel that you need some motivation, and you've gone down, you've gotten caught up with your work, and you kind of miss your practices, and then again you need something to inspire you to continue. So you have to see where you belong right now, and based on that you need to take a call on what works for you and what is needed for you. So there is no harm in doing different programs, and seeing if that can help you even take even if it's just a small step which it helps you, propels you in that direction, then it's great. So but the important thing is more than the number of programs. The important thing is that are you continuing to maintain the same focus with which you started when you did the first program, the kind of curiosity, the kind of intensity, or the interest which you had in learning yoga, in doing the yoga practices, or getting to explore this. Are you able to maintain that same interest, that same curiosity, that same intensity and seeking as you progress in your path? If it has become like another another, oh, I have to do another practice, and if it is becoming like a load for you, then that is something you need to relook at, because this is not about burdening you with more number of practices so that you have to constantly keep on thinking that how do I manage. It's not about that. It's not that if you do 5 hours or 4 hours of practice every day, that will make you more spiritually evolved than anybody else. It's not about that. It's about seeing whatever you're doing with how much openness and with how much willingness, what is the intensity with which you are approaching. That makes a difference more than the quantity. The quality, that is what makes a difference. So if this is not something which should burden you, if you are able to maintain that same curiosity, that same intensity, and take up more number of practices and add them to your schedule, then that's wonderful. That is the ideal way to be, if you can do that, because that is something which will require you to manage your time and your priorities in a very different way. Because let's say if you just have one practice to do, it just takes half an hour. It's very easy to manage your time. But now if you have learned so many more practices like Hatha Yoga practices, the Shakti Chalana Kriya, Shambhavi, Samyama, Shoonya, if you have learned so many practices, and if you require at least 3-4 hours of your time in a day, then to fit that in your day along with your commitments with the family, with your work, with your professional life, or whatever else which you're doing, trying to manage all of that, it will definitely require a lot of focus, and that your priority should be very clear. It's just like this, let's say if I have just to juggle between two balls, it's very easy, most people will be able to juggle between two balls very easily. But now if I give you five and ask you to juggle between them, it requires a lot of skill and balance for you to juggle between five balls and still see that they don't fall, isn't it? So it requires a certain capability, and that is something which can happen, especially if you take up more number of practices. You will see you will have to be very focused in terms of how you spend your day, that you don't have time to spend unnecessarily on something which is not needed for you. You may need to manage your food and your sleep quota in such a way that it is minimal. So it kind of makes you more focused towards the spiritual path. That is something which I have experienced, because earlier when I just did Shambhavi Maha Mudra, it was just very easy. Though at the initial stages I thought that even managing my time for half an hour will be very difficult to fit in yoga. But as I did the practice, I realized that I was able to take the first step and do that, and it became much easier to manage that. But now after I added more number of practices, then it became more of a challenge. It continues to be even right now, because with so many practices I have learned all the practices, and with the kind of schedules which I have, it every time it's like a challenge, just to see how I can fit in. So this is something which will stretch you, it will definitely stretch you, and it will make you reevaluate your priorities, and see that you focus on what is more important for you. So that is something which can happen. So that's why I was mentioning. So you can approach it in whichever way it is, but at the end of the day, it's like this, that whatever you have taken up, are you able to do it joyfully and willingly? Is it something which is helping you move forward? Is it helping you, break barriers within yourself? If that is happening, then that's great. Whether you're doing 4 practices or 5 practices or even 2 practices, or you're spending 5 hours a day or 1 hour a day, the important thing is that whatever you're doing, is it helping you move forward? Just use that as a scale. It's not about number of practices or going ahead of someone or comparing with someone else. If just this is happening, then it doesn't matter what is happening and how that is happening, for you. Maybe you're doing 5-6 practices, you're doing your yoga for 5-6 hours a day, or you're just doing it for 1 hour a day. See, the thing is, ultimately all of us, we need to work towards a state where the practices, we move from a state where the yoga practices are just for a few hours a day for us, to something where yoga becomes a part of our life 24 hours. So if that is the goal for you, that you want to be in a state of yoga 24 hours, and not just when you do the yoga practices for 1 or 2 hours, if that is the goal for you, then every aspect of your life has to become yoga. Once every aspect of your life becomes yoga, whether you sing, whether you eat, whether you sleep, whether you work, whether you speak, whether you sit, if every aspect of your life has to become yoga, then only things move forward for you. Then you will see that it doesn't sit like a burden upon you. You may be thinking, okay, when you first started, you thought, okay, I'll do 1 hour of yoga per day, And then slowly someone said, you do this program. Then it became 1.5 hours. Then someone said, no, you should do this program. This really benefited me. It became 2.5 hours. Then, someone said you should do Samyama, ultimate program. Then it became 3.5 hours. Slowly your face became like, I'm not able to manage, or, this is not happening for me. And I did so many programs, but I'm not able to practice. So that should not happen, right? So that should not happen. At the end of the day, it should always feel like this is something which I want to do. This is something which I willingly, started. And you always evaluate this, because for me also it happened like this, that I was just thinking, okay, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Then I was thinking, when will it end? The programs are going on adding. When will this end? Then when I did Samyama, it just occurred to me that it won't end unless I become like this for 24 hours. It started with half an hour, and then slowly 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and then finally I realized that I was just trying to control myself and thinking, okay, where is it going to end? Where is it going to end? It's not going to end unless it becomes my life breath. It should happen 24 hours for me. It's not just the practices, even otherwise also, even when I'm not doing the practices, yoga should be, a part of me. That's how I should live. So that is how the aim should be. So when that is your aim, then it doesn't matter you're doing practices for 3 hours, 4 hours, or whatever else. It doesn't sit like a burden upon you, because anyway you're trying to see how you can move into a state of being in yoga 24 hours. So I would say you approach it that way. If that is how you look at it, then whatever practices which you have learned, whether it is taking 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever hours, number of hours, it won't sit like a burden upon you, because that is what you are trying to move towards. Maybe just 4-5 hours your practices you're doing, and remaining time you're all anyway trying to see how to move towards it. So this is what we do in our Dvijas program. When participants come for this program, which happens over a period of 21 days, the main objective of the program is to move people towards a state where every aspect of their life they can see how to make it into yoga, not just doing the yoga practices. So it doesn't matter where people start from. You can start from half an hour a day or whatever else. But the idea is, even if you're doing practice for half an hour a day, to see how the remaining part of your day is also something which is geared towards your well-being, and not something that you just do yoga for half an hour and then you forget about things and you lead your life, in a reckless way. That won't work. Whether you do yoga for half an hour or whether you do yoga for 4 hours, if that is the way you are going to do it, approach it that I'll just do my yoga practices and rest of the time I'll lead my life in whichever way I want, then it won't work. Only when it becomes like every aspect of your life, I'm just seeing how to use it for my well-being, then it can work, whether it is 1 hour or whether it is 4 hours. So that's something which I would urge you to look at it in this particular way and see if it works for you, and then see which programs you want to do, and based on your schedule. Let's say if you are able to manage 1 hour right now, very comfortably you can manage 1 hour, then start with Shambhavi, the energy engineering program. That's a good way to start, because you will learn some asanas, you will learn a kriya, and also you will get exposed to the basic fundamentals of yoga and food. So that is something which will be very helpful for you. So you can start with that, and then if you want to strengthen your experience, go for the Bhavya Spandana program. So these two programs, if you do, at least you will get all the fundamentals in place. After that, you see your schedule. If you want to learn something more physical in nature, and you feel that your body is a hurdle for you, then Hatha Yoga can be very helpful for you. You can learn practices like Surya Kriya. You can learn more physically intense practices like Angamaradana or Surya Shakti. Or if you're looking for something more subtle, then Yogasanas you can learn. So based on, you can just pick up one practice, see if you can fit it into your schedule, and once that becomes comfortable for you, and if you feel that this is something which has worked for you and you feel the need that now I want to explore a little more, then you can take up the next program. Let's say you did the Surya Kriya program and now this is working well for you, you are able to manage it comfortably. Now you want to stretch yourself a little more. Now from 1.5 hours you want to move to 2.5 hours. you can pick up another practice like Yogasanas, and then you stabilize that. So like this, you slowly and gradually go on moving instead of just saying that I should finish this program or that program. The idea is to just take one step, fit it into your schedule, see if you are comfortable with it, and then move on to the next step without leaving behind what you've already learned. Like this, if you go step by step, and for example, if it has become very intense within you and you want to do Samyama with Sadhguru, which is a silence program, then anyways you'll have to finish the prerequisites like Bhavya Spandana, Shoonya, Shakti Chalana Kriya, Yogasanas. Then you can work towards that. You can see how you can take up one program, establish that in your schedule. Then once you become comfortable with these practices, it's become a part of your daily life, then you learn the next program. Maybe after a month or 2 months, 3 months, when you stabilize this program, then you learn the next one. Like this, you go on doing it based on what program you're wanting to do. If Samyama is your goal with Sadhguru, then anyway you'll have to do these programs. And if something you want to learn more physical in nature, then Hatha Yoga could be helpful. And if you have particular ailments, for example, if you are having eye related issues, then you can learn the eye program. If you are looking having nasal related issues or sinus, migraine, etc., you can learn Jalaneti as a preparatory practice. So based on what you require, you can also do that. But at the end of the day, just remember this particular aspect, that whatever you do, more importantly, it is about how you are doing the practice, how willingly you are doing it, and whether you are able to keep up the practice even after the program. That is what is most important, and not about how many hours of yoga you are doing. If your goal is to be like a yogi and to see how yoga becomes a part of your life, then anyway, doesn't matter whatever programs you're doing. Anyway, every aspect of your life is like yoga practice. That's how you should approach it. And so don't get so much caught up with which program should I do first. Is there any problem if I do this program first and this later? It doesn't really make a big difference actually. You can it's very flexible with Isha. Sometimes some people start with Hatha Yoga programs first, and they may not have even done inner engineering. After some time, maybe they just look up or take up inner engineering program if they realize that that is the requirement for doing an advanced program with Isha. For a lot of people, they just do they just do the inner engineering and Bhavya Spandana, and they may not have done any other programs. So some people would have done the inner engineering, then the Shoonya, and then they move ahead with doing some Hatha Yoga programs, and Bhavya Spandana they may have done later. So there is no particular order as such. It's very flexible. You see what works for you, what is something which is needed for you, and accordingly you do it. If if it is something which is you can also see what is working. Suppose some program is closer to when you are free. Right now, let's say you have few days and there's a program which is happening in the ashram coincidentally during this time, you can take up that. So more than the practice, it is the intensity of your of how you're doing it, the way you're doing it. It's the intensity which will transform you more than the practice. This is what my experience is. Even if you do Yoga with a certain intensity, with a certain involvement, that itself can leave you in tears. Or if you do something even like more profound like Samyama, but there's no involvement, there's no interest, there's no intensity with which you're doing it, then even that, something as profound as Samyama also may not leave much of an impact on you. So it's not so much about the program, but it's about you, how intensely you approach it. So if you just take it in that particular way and don't consider something as high or low, or this program is great but this program is low, or this or that, just look at every program, everything as an offering from Sadhguru to enhance you, to take a step forward. If you feel that you need to grow, this is a tool which is offered by my guru, which is which I can use for my well-being. And whatever you connect with, and no need to compare yourself with someone else and think that since someone has done more programs, they're more advanced or you're less. It's nothing like that. Even though I have been practicing from last 13 years, I still consider myself in the same way like how I started. And it's like this, until and unless you're enlightened, or till you reach whatever Sadhguru says is your ultimate, Till then, you're just a seeker, you know. If you just think about it like this, then it doesn't matter whatever people may label you as, it won't sit heavy upon your head, because that's how it is. The moment you carry a tag, think that you are more advanced, then you're lost it, you know. So just looking at everything as an offering from Sadhguru, seeing how that can help you advance and approaching it that particular way, and seeing that more than the number of programs, it's about seeing how you can move towards a state where everything becomes yoga for you. Then every program will be helpful for you in that direction. So please approach it this way and share with us that if this helped you, and you know how your journey has been. It would be nice to hear from you. Namaskaram.